So as I mentioned, we do have the training portal that you have access to, that CADD Community. There are sort of two different providers of training within there. It is Global eTraining and CAD Microsystems. Global eTraining is the resource that you'll go to really for that full-length technical training. So sort of start to finish, whether it be AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D, they have the full Autodesk library. And the CAD Microsystems library really goes over tips and tricks, ways to really apply some of that knowledge. You know, the sort of distinction that I make is that Global eTraining is how to use it, and CAD Microsystems is how to use it more effectively and really apply that technical knowledge. So you'll look in there, you know, as I said, this is a brief overview. We'll actually jump into the portal and you'll see that. But all of this content is created by our technical experts, and the Global eTraining content is made by certified Autodesk instructors. So the different curriculum that you're going to see in there is really going to focus on those Autodesk best practices. One thing I do like to point out about this training, and for those of you that have already started your account and maybe have looked around in those Global eTraining courses, this is really set up to be an interactive learning experience. It's not just an hour-long video that you sort of burn through and really get that information in one solid way. We really wanted to cater this to how people learn. So with this, you get a mix of text content. So if you're wanting to read through things, if you learn best, if you're reading that, going over the main concepts. We do have demonstration videos so that you can see an instructor going through those actions. And then we have follow-up hands-on exercises so that everything you're learning, you can practice yourself and really make sure you're retaining that. You know, videos are nice, they're very straightforward, they're easy to jump through, but what we find is that people don't really retain that information as well, especially architects and engineers. They all tend to be very hands-on type learners. So by combining those demonstration videos with the hands-on exercises, that really makes it that much more effective to make sure all that information you're going through is really sticking with you. So one thing I do like to point out about this, as you may have noticed when you did sign in, this is available 24/7 on our web portal. It doesn't have to be installed on our machine or your machine. Hopefully, looking by the fact that you've all logged in, it's not blocking by your firewall or anything like that. So, you know, this is a great resource, obviously most effective at work on any computer you're on. But if it is your prerogative to do Autodesk training at nights and over the weekend, you have that full flexibility by going to the website. So that covers really sort of the overview portion. I'm going to go ahead and start jumping into the portal and showing you some of these things that I spoke about in action. Does anyone have any questions or want me to hold on for a second? Feel free to chat that to me, but otherwise we'll jump right into the portal. Okay. So with the CADD Community login, for those of you that have created an account, it looks like Walter, Priscilla, Gary, Monica, Ivy, and Malcolm are in there and have logged in. So this was the portal that you had used. That enrollment key that Michael had provided to you, you just put in that key ID and password, and that creates your username and password. You create that unique sign-in, and then from that point on, from that main login page, you just put that username and password that you had made to get into your account. The website for that is get.caddcommunity.com. If you do ever have issues with your password, if it's don't remember that, you can reach out to me and I will reset it. Because you're using the enrollment key, you created your own password, so hopefully you like the one that you have. If for any reason you change your mind and decide you want a new password, in this green toggle menu in the top right-hand corner, there's an Edit Profile option. Here you are able to update your information, or you can change your password at any time. And then once again, you have my contact information. I'll share it with you again at the end. If you do ever need to reset that or forget it, I'm happy to help you with that. So hopefully when you all got into your account, it looks exactly like mine here, where we have a banner at the top and a few sort of launching point options here at the bottom. The only difference will probably be that this is your name and not mine. We do have a member survey here. This is a portal that we're constantly trying to improve and make a better experience. So, feel free to share your feedback with us, whether it be recommendations for courses you might want or navigation difficulties. You can fill out the member survey. Once again, I'm here to make sure that you're happy with this portal and know how to use it. So any feedback that you have, feel free to reach out to me directly as well. So looking at the home page here, as you can see, there are a few different sections. With the CADD community, there are multiple ways to get anywhere you want. So, there's a bit of flexibility for when you're jumping in and out of courses. Now, for those of you that have an account, I see that we just had a 7th sign up with it. If you have 2 monitors, it's a great idea to have the CADD community open up on your other monitor while you're following along and I'm talking through this, just as we like to do the hands-on exercises with the training portal. With the actual Autodesk training, it helps as well, sort of navigating around these courses, if you can follow along with me. If not, once again, I am recording this, and then you also have that user guide that I sent you that will give you some refreshers on how to best jump around through here. So in here, as I had said, there are 2 main categories of courses that are created by our application specialists. There are the global eTraining courses and the CAD microsystems courses. Now we have little shortcuts on the launch pad right here, so you can jump to those, but you can also get to them from the right side of the screen here, titled My Courses, or anytime from this toggle menu, you can jump back to that My Courses section. Now within here, we do have a My Company University, and that might not be showing in yours yet, but essentially what that is if you have any organizational training documents, whether they be PowerPoints or video recordings or PDFs, anything that you have that you use for training your team, we can host that in My Company University. So if there is something that you wanted to have in there where everyone can access it 24/7, Michael or Callwood or any of you could share that information with me. I'll get approval to do that, and it will only be available to your group. But in terms of our created content, as I said, we have that global eTraining and the CADD Community Library. So the first thing that I'll show you is the CADD Community Library, which is really the CAD microsystem content. So you jump in here, and those are sort of those little launch pads that you have from the home screen. You can choose applications, CAD courses, and CAD downloads. Okay. There's a link in the email sorted. Yes. So hopefully that link will be helpful for that user guide. It is in there. If any of you need that again, feel free to reach out to me. And then I will be following up after this presentation with the link for this recording. So hopefully you should have lots of refreshers. So the applications are things that you would sort of add in to the software. So in there we do have add-ins for Revit, a Filter Plus tool that we have, as well as a Revit dashboard. We have some BIM interoperability tools for Revit. And there we have model checkers, a configurator for that model checker, and a COBie extension, as well as a classification manager. Just a few tools that we were actually requested by Autodesk and contracted through them to make, but they are absolutely free for you and you can download those. One thing that we'll come back to a little later, this is where you would download the global eTraining plugin for CADD Community. And as I said, we'll be going through that at the end, reviewing sort of what you can do to get training delivered directly into your software. Now going back to that CADD Community library, we do also have downloads. So these are different handy items that you can use. We do have FAQs and white papers in here, lots of tips and tricks, common issues that we have with people calling into the help desk. Sort of the rule of thumb around here nowadays is if you get a question from 2 or 3 different customers, go ahead and build a resource for that and put it in the CADD community. So that is one nice thing about your subscription, is that throughout the course of the year, while you have access to these courses, any new content that CAD Microsystems or Global eTraining publishes will automatically be uploaded into your portal. So the other thing here in the download section are different content packs. Essentially, these are tools. We have Revit families. We do have different items, maybe just like white papers. But the content packs are divided by either software or your focus. So the Revit content pack for architects has some ceiling types and detail components. We have family collections. Same in here, looking at Dynamo scripts, AutoCAD line types, and Autodesk routines. All of these, once again, you have unlimited access to, so I definitely recommend jumping in, playing around, and seeing really what is going to work best for you. And then the last item here in the CAD Microsystems library are the CAD courses, and those are divided into 3 categories. We have recorded events and webinars. So many of you may get those emails where we do new feature webinars or tips and tricks. If you aren't able to attend those on the day and time that we were sort of broadcasting them, we do record them and upload them in here. One popular one right now, very timely, are the new feature webinars for the 2018 versions of these courses. So if you're upgrading to 2018 and you want to see what's changed, or if you're deciding if you want to upgrade, you can go through here and sort of get a rundown of those features, and that is a recorded tutorial. Once again, you can sort of jump in and out at your leisure. We also have instructional videos, which are going to be very similar content, sort of tips and tricks, introductory type training. Most of these are anywhere from about 15 to 45 minutes worth of content. Some of them, like these 5 and 5, they're 5 tips in 5 minutes. So they're really quick. You can jump in, get some quick references, and then keep going. We also have mini courses, and with this, these are set up in that global eTraining format where I told you they combine text and audio narration as well as video demonstrations and exercises. Now the global eTraining courses that we're going to be looking at are about 60 hours worth of content, 50 to 70 depending on the course. These are about an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So once again, it's very interactive, in-depth training, but on a much smaller, more targeted topic. Some popular ones are Excelling with AutoCAD and the Revit Family Basics. So you have resources within here beyond what we have with global eTraining. So once again, in that My Courses section, you have those 2 different sort of choices of courses. CAD Community is quick tips and tricks. Global eTraining is that full-length technical. So if you want to jump to that really quickly, from that home screen, the dashboard, you can go to Get Courses, and that'll open up right there that breakdown. Now, obviously, as an employee, I have the whole kit and caboodle, so don't be worried if your view looks a little different than mine. But we do have all different types of libraries available. The most popular one, the one where the bulk of our customers are and the bulk of our courses are, is this Autodesk library. So as you can see, with that library subscription, you're going to get every version of the course. I'm trying to remember, I think y'all might be on the 2016 version right now, but we are already updating this. Obviously, we have the 2017 courses, and we're starting to get 2018 courses. You know, really try and make sure that you have access to all the different versions. So if you're upgrading and things change, or maybe you're doing most of your projects in 2016, but you still have a couple that are in 2014, you're definitely getting the training that's most relevant to what you're working in. So the distinction of these flexible courses means that you can jump in and out of the courses and the topics in any order you want. You are not locked in, really whatever is helpful for you. As I said, this can be sort of a full-length training from start to finish, or you do have the ability to use it as a quick reference tool. I'll show you a few nice ways to jump around between there. And then, once again, that plugin is a great way to use it as a just-in-time reference. So as you can see with the courses, we really divide them by flavor or concentration. You know, there's not one AutoCAD course. We have that divided into 2D and 3D, architecture, electrical, and then we also have advanced concepts. So, you know, if you're just looking for AutoCAD training, there are still lots of different courses that could be relevant for you, and obviously you have unlimited access to them all. So we go through here, you know, we've got all these different software products that maybe you have access to, haven't used. Again, I can't overemphasize, you have unlimited access to this. So anything that you're required to learn, go in and do that. Anything that you want to learn, you have the freedom and the ability to jump in and out. So I want to show you really how the interactive features of those courses work. And for the example today, I'll be going through the Revit architecture course. Now, when you start any of these courses, they have sort of a orientation and personalization section. You shouldn't need to go through that if you're paying even the slightest bit of attention to this webinar today. Then anything that has to do with the navigation, hopefully I will tackle for you, and the user guide helps with that as well. Now here, at the start of the course, we have downloading your data set. That is going to be relevant if you're using the exercises. So once again, those are docked at the top of all these different courses. And then also in this black resources box, you can see the data set available for the exercises, both imperial and metric. So as we come through here, most of the courses start with a new for whatever version section. So if you just wanted to see what it changed, obviously, as you saw, we have those webinars that you can jump into, but then we also like to have them docked at the top of the main course. And the way that this course is laid out, I'll sort of slow scroll through here while I'm talking, is it's really set up in that logical sequential order that an instructor would teach it in the classroom. So starting with the basics of a user interface and starting a project, and then really just building upon that so that you can continue to get more advanced throughout the course. Now, as I said, this is a flexible course, so you can jump around in any order you want. You can jump into these sections many times. Once you complete a section, it'll have that green check mark. Once again, you can jump back in. But everything is very specifically labeled by subject and topic so that you're not locking yourself into an hour or 6 hours worth of training. You know, if you just need a couple minutes on using a section box, you can quickly find that particular topic and jump in and out of the training. So the little check button means that you've completed it. That play pause button means that you've started it but may not have completely finished that. In here we do have mid-lecture quizzes and progress tests. Now with those you can use them in a couple different ways. The mid-lecture quiz covers every topic above it. The progress test will cover the entire section. Now obviously this is great for after you go through the training. You know, if you're not doing the exercises, doing the quiz is a great way to double check that you learned everything. But it can also be useful if you're trying to decide if you need to go through that section or not. So it's a multiple choice, true and false, select all that apply, sort of a random scattering of those questions. As you can see, it's kind of teaching you as you go through. It'll let you know if you got the answer wrong or right. If you did get the answer wrong, it'll give you the correct answers. So once again, kind of trying to teach you, obviously for true and false, that's pretty obvious, but for the multiple choice ones, that is very important. You know, I can open this up and see I scored a 40. That's not great. Why don't I close that activity? And then it automatically directs you. Any of the training above it is what's relevant to that. You do, once again, have unlimited attempts on these quizzes so that if you want to take it before and see how things changed afterward, after you went through the training, you have that flexibility. Now, getting into the courses and the actual lectures themselves, one thing that I do like to point out about these is that they are going to open in their own window. So definitely make sure if you clicked that launch button or clicked on the section title and nothing happened, just make sure that you disable that pop-up blocker for this site. And then once you do that, set it for all time, and then you should be able to open these up. Now, as you saw, I sort of jumped back to the beginning when I opened this slide. These will pick up where you last left off. So if you made it halfway through a particular topic, you can still walk away from your computer, come back, and it won't run off without you. It'll bring you back to where you stopped. There are a couple different ways to jump around through the courses. You can use the arrow button to move forward, or as you saw, you can hover over this side menu and you can jump to a specific topic. Once again, really trying to give you targeted training, learning exactly what you need at that moment, and not overwhelming you with too much information. Now, there are a few different interactive elements in these courses. First one is image associations. They'll be shown in these boxes with view image, or the green bolded word will work for that image association. So if you click that, you know, it's something as simple as maybe just a screenshot of what it looks like in the software. So if you're not using it, you know, if you don't have the software open at that time, you can still start building that association. There are little tips, which are exactly what they sound like, and it can be something as simple as, where do I find this on the ribbon? What's the shortcut key for it? Now, right now I have my computer audio muted, but anything that is written in text is also audio narrated. So if I move forward here, select the type selector drop-down button in the properties palette. Anything that's written will automatically start narrating. If you have your computer audio muted, obviously you won't hear that. And then if you don't, but you do not want to hear the audio, you can just click on that little microphone and that'll keep it muted for the rest of the section. So some of the other interactive features that you'll see in here are the Learn More sections, which are basically advanced tips and tricks. Sometimes it's just one window, or you can go through and it's a little mini slideshow. The audio narration for that is right here. And to go back to the main screen, you can either click the X button or just click back on the outside, and that'll get you to the course. Now, the really popular, very useful ones are these demonstration videos. So these are generally between about 1 and 4 minutes, just like everything else I've said. I know I sound like a broken record, but really trying to get you quick, targeted training so that you're not having to dig through 30 minutes of a video to find the 1 minute you need. It's very specifically labeled. As you can see, it does have volume, and it has that closed captioning. If you have it turned off, or if you don't want it, you can turn it off there, or you can turn it on here. You can put this in full screen mode, pause, whatever is comfortable. But we do sort of highlight that instructor's pointer so that you can easily follow along. And then fun little psychology fact is that people in our focus groups do a lot better on the exercises when we have the instructor green screen down there. So I don't know if subconsciously you feel like he's watching you, but people perform better with that. So you will get to know a lot of the top half of our Autodesk instructors through these videos. Now, the other great beneficial item in here, as you continue going through the text, these demonstration videos and tips are just going to constantly pop up. Once again, it's not going to move on unless you ask it to. And then towards the end of a section, oftentimes right around the time where you see a demonstration video, we have a let me try exercise. So once again, that is where you're going to use that data set that you can download from the top of the course or in the resources box. But I really like this data set for a couple different reasons, or these exercises. One, you have a safe environment to practice anything you're learning. You know, sometimes on a very important project is not the best place to try out some new skills you've acquired. So you can practice them through the exercises. But even if you are working on a real project, I'm very much a step-by-step learner. You know, very popular, the sort of picks and clicks that you go through. Now, if you're working on a real project, this is basically a roadmap for completing that action. Obviously, you're going to sub out our data set for your real project information, but this just sort of holds your hand through every step you need to go through. So these exercises are in PDF format, so you can always save them, print them out, stick them on the second monitor while you're working through a course, but you do have those there. Now, one other thing I do want to show you in the actual course slides, in the bottom left-hand corner, you see this question mark. If you open that up, that goes to our help desk support page. So you can look through the frequently asked questions that we get from our customers. It does have a chat function, but I highly recommend using the ticket system if you have a question that isn't answered by either the content in the course or within those FAQs. So you enter in your information, you know, choose what software and what version you have that question about. If you have a conceptual question, you can sort of type it in here, but then you also have the ability to add a screenshot or a screen recording. This help desk is staffed by certified Autodesk instructors, so maybe you're going through one of those exercises and your finished product did not turn out like the example showed it should. So instead of sort of typing out everything that you went to, you could add a screenshot or a screen recording of your final project or going through it and then submit that. And the answers that come back from the instructors are very similar to these exercises, where they'll sort of give you the step-by-step to dig yourself out. Once again, why I sort of recommend that ticket system is that you can look up your tickets at any time. So if you run into that same problem or just want a refresher on what they had said, you can pull that ticket, and then they also email the response to you. So you can always re-reference that in a few different occasions. So that is really the full-length course, the training When you get back to that course, you can just X out of the menu. One other thing that I want to show you for those using it really is a reference tool. As I said, in this resources box in the top left-hand corner, we do have those data sets. Right here, you have an eDemo playlist. In general, this takes a while to load, especially when I'm going to go to or using GoToMeeting. It will take forever. It may not, due to just the internet of doing the screen share. But the reason this takes a while to open up is this is actually a playlist of every single demonstration video that's in the course, so that if you're not that sort of text-based person, if you don't want to read the concepts and the content, you can jump through a demonstration video, or you can do this exercise playlist. So if you are working on that project and you just want to practice with site plans, you can jump right to that exercise as opposed to going through sort of that slideshow of the course content, and open up any of these exercises at any time. So once again, I do have sort of directions for that in the user guide for those demonstration and exercise playlists. And then the other place you can get it is actually in this Autodesk course library. You can see that it's the eDemo library. So if I open up the Revit architecture, this doesn't open in that one huge playlist format. So this is a little more slow internet friendly, but it still breaks down each individual topic and the subtopic within there. So if you just want to watch a quick video on deleting elements, you can hurry, open that up, watch the video, and move on with your life. So the last thing I really want to show you here is that plugin. Now, we have this available for AutoCAD, Revit, Civil 3D, Navisworks, Plant 3D, and Inventor. Right now, we do have it for the 2015 through 2017 versions, and then we'll get the 2018 version out as soon as possible, since Autodesk just released that. Now, how this works is I'm showing it to you. This is my Revit 2015 version of this plugin. So it functions like any other add-in. You can sort of toggle it around the screen, dock it wherever you'd like. It has the full course catalog that you would see in the web portal. So you can jump into individual topics, and you can watch videos, or actually open up the entire course slide from here. For logging into this, you just use the same username and password that you would use to get into the actual web portal, but it might be a little more convenient for you. I mean, sometimes you open up a browser window and you jump on Twitter or Facebook, or it's just a slippery slope of jumping online. So this is kind of nice because it's right within the software. Once again, you can sort of dock it where you like, put it on the second monitor, and sort of move through those slides. But where I really see this being the most useful is for those questions that pop up as you're working through a project. Maybe you don't know how to do something, or you don't know if you're doing it the most efficient way. Maybe you don't know what you're doing at all. You know, if you have the course catalog, if you're not sure what you need training on, it's a little difficult. So one of the great benefits of this is that it is responsive. So whether I use the keyboard command, or if I click on the tool here in the ribbon, I click on column, and it automatically reacts and brings up all the training relevant to columns. So if I click on that film strip right there, I can open up an immediate demonstration video right within the software, watch a video, and keep working through. Anything you do on the ribbon, once again, keyboard command, editing tools, that's just going to keep reacting and bringing up that training that's relevant. So I think for those of you that maybe don't feel like you need a full training solution, but you do have questions pop up now and then, you want to make sure you're doing it the right way, this add-in tool is very, very popular and very handy to have. Once again, that user guide that I've mentioned, it feels like it 8 million times now, will show you how to get there. But you can also get it from this CADD applications menu on the Launchpad. You can just open that up, and it's the global eTraining plugin for CADD Community. And then we do have a different add-in for each version. And then that installation and configuration instructions are included there. So that is the really vast majority of everything I wanted to show you within this portal. Hopefully that makes jumping in here a little less intimidating, makes you a little more comfortable with navigating around. I know most of you don't have mics or aren't on the phone. I do see that we had 2 people additional sign up for those accounts while we were going through this. So if you are playing around in there, if you have any questions, you know, I set this aside till 11 o'clock. I'm going to be here for the next 13 minutes. Feel free to use that chat function. I do have my email pulled up on my second computer, so if it's more comfortable to email me, you can do that. My contact information is there. But hopefully you found this very helpful, and it makes it a little easier for jumping in those courses. But as I said, you know, even though it is 60 hours worth of training in those full-length courses, you can jump in and get 2 minutes at a time, really just trying to help make you more effective and efficient with that software. So if anything comes up, let me know. But I will be stopping this recording in a second. I'll get that uploaded, and then I'll share that link with you. So if you ever want a refresher or want to hear my really bad jokes again, you're more than welcome to review that. Thank you all for joining me and setting aside some time this morning.